Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, alumni. We are here to begin. Friends, special guests, on behalf of the Alumni Association Board of Directors, I would like to welcome you to the annual general meeting of the Alumni Association. We still have a few people joining, so that's fantastic. Please note that we are recording our AGM and featured presentation this evening. You will see a pop-up window advising you of that. As a reminder, this is a Zoom webinar event, so the audience won't be captured by video, and if you choose to decline the recording, you will be exiting the event. My name is Emil Bosnjak. I am the president of the BCIT Alumni Association and will serve as your moderator this evening. I would like to acknowledge that I am on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, which includes the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I encourage you to take a moment to share with us in the chat whose territory you are watching this event from today. If you are not sure whose territory you are on, we're posting a link in the chat to help you. So I would like to do some recognitions here. I would like to acknowledge that while all of our alumni are special to us, there are some groups we would like to particularly recognize, including representatives of the BCIT Board of Governors, honorary degree recipients, Distinguished Alumni Awards recipients, former Alumni Association directors and past presidents, BCIT leadership team, BCIT Foundation, and recent graduates. Thank you all for joining us. We'd also like to thank our affinity partners. Firstly, Corey Severin from TD Insurance, which provides a range of insurance options, including home, condo, tenant, and auto insurance. Mohammed Ali Casatini from BMO MasterCard, our official alumni credit card. Carmelina Mano from Manulife, which also provides a range of insurance options, including life, health, and dental, and critical illness insurance. These companies are strategic partners with the Alumni Association, as they provide essential funding for our alumni programs and events, as well as donations to BCIT and BCIT students. President Kathy Kinloch, Vice President Paul McCullough, and Vice President Danica Jurkovic are joining us today. You will hear from each of them later in the program. I would also like to share a warm welcome to Lisa Yoon, who joined BCIT in early April as Director of Alumni Relations and Executive Director of the Alumni Association. A seasoned alumni relations leader, Lisa brings more than 20 years of experience in higher education to the team. We are delighted to work closely with Lisa and her team as we continue to engage with our diverse alumni community. Now, I would like to thank our generous AGM sponsor, BCIT's School of Business and Media. Alumni, you may wish to check out the executive field schools they offer. The link to the programs can be found in the chat. And special thanks also goes out to our door prize sponsors for this event. And yes, even though we are virtual, we have fantastic prizes for alumni with a total value of $2,000. They include the Vancouver Whitecaps FC prize pack, TD Insurance prize pack, the BMO prize pack, the Manulife prize pack, the BC Lions prize pack, the Moby Gift prize, the Park and Fly prize, BCIT Recreational Services prize pack, and there's more. Everyone in attendance today will be automatically entered into our prize draws. We will be choosing the winners at the end of the program, but you must be present to claim your prize. Please stay tuned. And now, I would like to invite our president, BCIT President Kathy Kinloch, to share some remarks. President Kinloch joined BCIT in January of 2014, and she will be retiring at the end of this month. As president of the Alumni Association and on behalf of our board and the alumni community, I would like to express our sincere thanks for your exceptional leadership. Your focus on broadening and deepening BCIT's globally relevant connections with business, industry, and community, both locally and worldwide, has benefited employers, learners, and alumni. Please welcome President Kathy Kinloch.
Thanks, Emil. It's great to be here, and thank you for that recognition. I have to say, I leave knowing that everything's in good hands under your leadership and the team that you have around you. And thanks to everyone for joining today. Just before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm on the traditional lands of the Semiahmoo Nation tonight, and it's an honor to work and live and play in this area. So as Emil shared, I'll be retiring at the end of this month, and I'm grateful for you all maintaining your connections with us and being such exemplary ambassadors for BCIT, your careers and your communities. You embody the best of BCIT, providing solutions on for day-to-day challenges through your work, your connections, most recently through the pandemic, and now in our shared economic recovery process. I'm also grateful to the Alumni Association for your dedication and support of our alum. Your generous $1 million gift pledged toward BCIT Inspire campaign two years ago. Our campuses are bustling at full capacity with students eager to learn, and faculty have returned to teach and work. And despite the many challenges we've faced, our BCIT alumni continue to make meaningful and positive differences in their communities. I'd like to share just a minute of a couple of examples with you. Those of you living in BC experienced the devastating wildfires in the province over the last summer. One alum, and I'm proud that I had some time with him when he graduated, Justin Perry, from the Forest and Natural Areas Management Program, was instrumental in the province's emergency response. As a chief drone pilot working with Transport Canada and BC wildfires, Justin used his skills he learned about wildfire management to help map thousands of ground fires. Thanks to his contribution, those fires were extinguished by BC wildfires. A proud Métis, Justin gives back by showing youth in the Indigenous community how they can use drone technology for land management in their own communities. Another BC alum traded her tutu for a tool belt. Brandy Kwalka also was destined to be a ballet dancer. After receiving her lifelong dream to become a professional dancer with the Go Ballet, which is really a highly regarded ballet, she wanted to make a career move that would still allow her to be artistic, but also would allow her to move her career so she'd be also able to do something else. She discovered the BCIT joinery program and became a Red Seal cabinet maker. After graduation, not stopping at all, she formed a very successful high-end custom woodworking company and is paying her success forward. Brandy recently established a generous annual bursary for women in joinery and carpentry programs at BCIT, awarding 3 $500 bursaries to students each year. I know many of you have stayed connected as mentors and as volunteers, and you hire our co-op students, interns, and graduates when possible, and you make a gift to support the students and the future of the Institute. For this, I thank you so much. You make us proud every day, and there's not a place that I've gone as president of BCIT that I don't look for a BCIT grad, and you know, I pretty much always find them, and I'm so proud of you all. So with that, I'll turn things back to you, Emil. But again, thank you all and best wishes.
Thank you so much, President Kinloch. Thank you, Kathy. We truly appreciate all that you do for BCIT, its students and alumni. We will miss you and we wish you the very best in the next chapter. It is now my pleasure to welcome Vice President of BCIT Advancement, Paul McCullough, to share some words of welcome.
First of all, my sincere thanks to you, Emil, for the introduction. And just to add that I'm too delighted to be joining you today from the traditional territories of the Squamish Nation, and it's a real privilege to be here. Before I get into the formal elements of this, I just want to take 1 second to just acknowledge the tremendous work that President Kathy Kinloch has done. I've had the privilege of working with her for the last 8 years, and it's really been a great privilege. And Kathy, thank you for all the tremendous contributions you've made to this organization and the remarkable achievements that have been made under your leadership, and it's been a privilege to work with you. So I'd like to just start by expressing my sincere thanks to the board members of the association. This is a volunteer board, and quite simply without them, we would not exist. And we truly appreciate the valuable contribution of time, expertise, and the commitment to work with our executive director and alumni relations team to achieve all that they do. And we're also delighted that we were able to have Lisa join our team earlier this year as the executive director. And we look forward to working and continuing to work with the team. Our alumni are so important to BCIT, and this excellent partnership that this institute has with the Alumni Association is very special and very significant in helping our two organizations advance our goals. Alumni of any institution are key to its long-term sustainability and its long-term commitment to what it does for all the people that we work with. As Kathy mentioned earlier, we are grateful for the Alumni Association's generous contribution towards the Inspire campaign with the $1 million pledge that was made a couple of years ago. But more importantly, this last year, we had the highest levels of participation from alumni in our support for our campaign. It was a tremendous achievement, and it's a real tribute to the commitment that these individuals have and these people have committed to continuing to support BCIT. And together with our other donors, the total of funds raised last year reached an historic $26 million in donations. It was quite remarkable and a tremendous credit to everybody who has participated in this campaign. Financial support is, of course, very significant, but ultimately it's what we do with these funds that really matters. And I am truly delighted that as we work closely with our alumni, it's also about what we hear, what we learn from them. And the three elements that this campaign has really focused on has been about access and inclusion. It's about teaching and learning innovation. And it's about campus redevelopment. It's really about people. And ultimately, what we do is for our students, our faculty, our staff, and also the people who work in the industries we serve. Today, this campaign has raised an all-time significant contribution level of close to just over $100 million. It is a remarkable achievement, and it's a reflection of the commitment and understanding that the community has for the value that BCIT places in the community. And we're now starting to see the tangible outcomes of this generosity. Specifically, some of the things, if you visited the campus, is the amount of construction that's going on. And it's not about the buildings, it's about what goes on inside the buildings that really matters. But it's important that we start to look to the future and to reimagine what this will look like. And to share more about these outcomes, I'd like to introduce you to our new Vice President of Campus Planning and Facilities, Danica Jakovic. Danica has been with BCIT since February and brings with her a remarkable array of credentials, experiences, and connections, which is instrumental in going forward for our institute. She joins BCIT from the city of Vancouver, where she led an award-winning team as Director of Facilities and Planning and Development. But she herself is also an award recipient and received the 2020 YWCA Women of Distinction nominee in the category of Arts and Culture. It is a distinct pleasure to introduce my colleague, Danica Jakovic.
Thank you so much, Paul, and good evening, everyone. It's too bad we can't see each other, but maybe next year. Thank you so much for inviting us and to share some of the exciting news here at the campus. I'm super excited and happy to join BCIT's strong team. and I'm very thankful and inspired by all of your involvement here through alumni table, in amount of efforts you put in, both with your connections and support and advice, and finally funding as well. It's just really amazing and very inspiring. I'll be looking forward to meeting you in person. In the meantime, we thought we'll give you a bit of an update as to what's been happening on campus. So you've probably heard our Health and Science Center has been completed. We are currently in process of moving people in, teachers and staff, and are hoping to open the building. Well, for sure, we'll open the building in September. So looking forward to you coming all and visiting and enjoying the spaces. They're beautiful spaces, and I'm hoping everyone will come again and enjoy and see. This is basically the largest center for health simulation in Canada, and we are very proud of that. It will receive 7,000 new students, which is just amazing. It is net zero renewable building connected to our geothermal field. It is also meeting Rick Hansen inclusion and diversity standards, as well as well-certified standards for interior designs. It has universal access for LGBTQ2+ community, universal group washrooms and such. And again, looking forward to welcome you all in September. We might be able to organize some tours as well if people are interested. Next, please. Currently, we are working really hard on a tall timber student housing building. It is going to house around 470 students, which is super exciting. The wraparound services for our students are really, really important for them to succeed and focus on education and not worry about things such as housing and so on. This is first tall wood building in the city of Burnaby, so we are quite proud of that, working with city and making sure our codes are met and standards and safety are all in place. But really exciting opportunity for us to showcase and feature British Columbia and our wood industry and forestry, as well as the leading leadership and demonstration in architecture, in engineering, design, and environmental engineering as well. So again, this one also will be net zero renewable building, and construction. We are hoping to start end of this year, fall this year, and hopefully complete for 2024 end of the year. Very excited about this project. Next, Paul. Well, the latest news, I'm sure, again, most of you are familiar with. We received significant funding for Trades and Technology Complex, and that's really a combination of 5 elements. It's a main trades and technology building that is going to be modern building, providing significant new capacity as well as technology. We are looking to meet demand for another 10 years in the range of 85,000 new trades jobs. Again, another example of real pressures in our province. In addition to nurses and health sector, trades are still continue to be challenged to meet the demands of the industry. So we are super happy to kind of add more capacity and definitely offer more contemporary spaces for our students and faculty. This project itself will have additional huge bonus around daylighting of Gishon Creek. If for people who have been following our campus planning, we've been for a while looking for ways to daylight Gishon Creek all across our campus, which will, with this portion of Gishon Creek, we will see salmon returning back to the campus. So that's super exciting for us to share with the world, and we hope this will also get community excited and invite them to our campus for visits and so on. Another aspects of this project, in addition to main trades and technology building, we will have new carpentry pavilion, as well as new metal shop pavilion with the ship building included. And we will also get the new contemporary service trade building, as well as meet net zero renewable standards, sustainable standards with this project. So right now we are currently just in process of hiring consultants. We have completed first stage of selection, and we are currently going through second stage of getting consultants on board. Again, we are really looking to demonstrate leadership in our province around architecture, engineering, and construction and development, as well as showcase inclusion, demonstrate reconciliation and decolonization. We have some really successful indigenous trades programs in the school, as well as continue on our path with net zero buildings. Next, Paul. Again, just really a little bit about our excitement and what's coming up next. We will be planning to do some reimagining of our campuses. We are hoping next year, and we want to really a vision for future of the schools and education. I think we really want to stay ahead of the game through this pandemic. BCIT has proven to the province and our community that we can actually deliver and support with pressure points around economy and industry that needs students, and programs have been such agile and nimble, and I'm so amazed by what I'm learning myself. I've been here for 3 months, and I just can't believe how quickly BCIT is able to demonstrate and work with industry to create these new programs. I believe last year we created 22 new programs, brand new programs. It's just really amazing. So I just feel the pressure of my peers to keep up with them and offer spaces that are fitting to the programs we need in future, with both technology as well as demonstrating sustainable leadership in inclusiveness and diversity. It's really, really important for us to demonstrate through all of our works, regardless of what is that we do, decolonization and indigenous campus, as well as vibrant and fun campus and cool. So again, one of the pictures is showing our tech center in a downtown campus. We want to hear from students, we want to hear from alumni, we want to hear from industry, from community, what is that we want to be. I think there is significant opportunity for us to make our spaces much more delightful and joyful and welcoming and inspiring. We want students to be happy and want to come to this campus. We want to stitch campus back to the community as well. And I've been working with City of Burnaby as well as with our neighbors around. How do we do that? How do we make our campus more welcoming for everyone, not just students? How do we bring life to it even over summer and evenings and over the weekend? We want this vibrancy and activity and delight that people feel good, and sense of belonging and sense of place is really, really important. The way spaces and architecture influence our lives are really important from qualitative perspective. They also reflect of mental health of our students. So I'll be working really hard with my colleagues here and students, and we will be shortly reaching out to you for some of your ideas, and I'm sure we have great opportunity to improve on our spaces significantly. So this is just a little bit of an insight as to what's to come. I hope we will meet in person soon, and I welcome anyone for any questions and or meetings. I'm happy to meet for coffee and pick your brain and get your ideas. And again, so looking forward to working with you very closely. And thank you for all of that you've done. Amazing amount of donations and such. Hope this was informative. Thank you, Paul. Over to you.
Thanks, Danica, and thank you for your leadership and for sharing about these exciting initiatives that will transform the education at BCIT. Alumni and guests, we could not do this without your generous support. And as I said earlier, we are tremendously indebted for what has been done and the support that's been provided. And in fact, I should just reinforce, 50% of last year's donors were our very own BCIT grads. That is one of the most remarkable statistics I've seen since I've been at BCIT. And it's a true testament to their commitment to this institution. We cannot thank you enough for your valuable contributions and support. And we look forward to continuing to engage with the association and the alumni as we move forward in the months and years ahead, and as we move forward with some of the exciting initiatives Danica has outlined. So again, my sincerest thanks and kudos to each of you. And thanks to the board for your tremendous support and contributions.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Danica. These are exciting times for the Institute, and as alumni, we have much to be proud of and to look forward to. It's now my pleasure to acknowledge and thank the Alumni Association Board of Directors. So you'll see up on the slide, going through this fairly quickly, we've got Jennifer Pattison, Vice President, Matthew Noletti, Vice President, Rashmina Lalani, Secretary Treasurer, and then we've got some directors at large, Alexandra Gunn, Amanda Gomez, Arash Salamati, Avinash Kapil, Melissa Bilsberger, and Sean Poole. I also want to thank the BCIT Student Association President's Delegate, Abe Bakshi, and of course our committee members at large, Jared Fedusoff, Kevin Liu, Tim Den Engelson, and our chapter ambassadors, Brad Kirk, based in Hong Kong, and Jack Davidson, our Fraser Valley Alumni Ambassador. It's been an absolute pleasure working with this great team of volunteers over the last year. And we wish to express our sincere appreciation for the support, efforts, and dedication of the Alumni Relations and Advancement Communications team. Please join me in thanking Executive Director Lisa Jung, Emma Berg. Special thanks to Emma for her excellent work as interim executive director before Lisa joined us in April. Anna White, Carolyn Taylor, Francis Loizaga Ramirez, Sally Lee, and Zara Alani. Thank you so much for your hard work and everything you do on behalf of the alumni community. Okay, it is 6:29 and we are going to call this meeting now to order. We will now begin the business portion of the AGM. So please refer to the agenda PDF package at the link we provided. We're also going to post that link into the chat for your convenience. Alumni and guests, I now call the BCIT Alumni Association's 43rd Annual General Meeting to order. The alumni members present constitute a quorum, and the meeting is therefore duly constituted to conduct its business at 6:30 p.m. Okay, we will conduct our motions throughout the webinar polling platform function. Executive Director Lisa Jung will be assisting me. We ask that all alumni present please vote on the motions. If you are not a grad, we are using the honor system here, so please abstain from voting by simply closing the polling window when it pops up. Okay, everyone, please refer to the agenda on page 1. May I ask for an alumnus to move that we adopt the 2022 AGM as presented? Please use the raise hand button to move this motion. Lisa, do you have a name for me?
Hi, Emil. I do. Just looking at the list. Hang on. Someone. Sorry. I'm just looking at the. Sorry, I'm just having a hard time.
Oh, we've got Radu Dragon. Okay, thank you, Radu. Thank you very much for raising your hand. Okay.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder? Please use the raise hand button now to second the motion. And do we have a seconder? It looks like Jennifer Roy. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay. And is there any discussion on the motion? Please type any questions that you have using the Q&A button, or if you prefer, use the raise hand button to speak and we will unmute your microphone. So we'll just stand by for a second to see if there's any typed questions. And is there any questions, Lisa?
No questions, Emil.
Okay, any raised hands?
I don't see any raised hands, no.
Okay, please launch the poll for the alumni to vote on this motion. Okay, it looks like the motion has carried. Very good. Fantastic. Okay, next, please take a moment to review the minutes of the 2021 AGM on pages 2 to 4. May I ask for an alumnus to move that we adopt the 2022 AGM minutes as presented? Please use the raised hand button to move this motion. Okay, we got Norm, no last name. Thank you, Norm. Okay, fantastic. Do we have a seconder? Please use the raise hand button to second the motion. Do we have a name? Frank Kurtz. Thank you, Frank. Fantastic. And is there any discussion on the motion? Please type the question you have using the Q&A button, or if you prefer, the raise hand button to speak, and we will unmute you. Do we have any typed questions?
No typed questions.
All right. Any raised hands?
No raised hands.
Okay, thank you. Please launch the poll for alumni to vote on this motion. And we will leave it up there for about 20 seconds and see how it goes. Please submit your vote now. And do we have an answer on this one? Yes, we do. We have an answer. The motion has carried. Thank you very much. Okay, now the President's report. Okay, so please refer to the 2021-2022 annual report link that we have provided you. Our team is posting that link into the chat window right now for your reference. Okay, we faced a lot of challenges, but there were also many opportunities. We remained focused on our mission, which was to foster alumni success, to give back to our BCIT community, and to engage alumni for life. We achieved our goals of engaging alumni and increasing our revenues in support of alumni, students, and the Institute. We hosted our second annual BCIT Alumni Holiday Market, featuring alumni-owned businesses. Our partnerships grew, benefiting our alumni in discounted offerings and raising more funds. And throughout the year, we supported and amplified the success of some of our high-achieving alumni by publishing dozens of profile stories about their accomplishments. We also supported students. Our endowments funded $53,861 worth of entrance awards, scholarships, and graduating school awards that went to 31 current students. And finally, we welcomed our newest alumni with a virtual convocation. So in a nutshell, that concludes the President's report from 2021-2022. So now I would like to welcome our treasurer, Rashmina Lalani, to give her report to our financials. Hi, Rashmina.
Hi, Emil, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Emil, and good evening to everybody on the call here. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Treasurer's Report. Before I walk you through the numbers, please note that the Alumni Association's financial statements are unaudited. Per our bylaws, they are not required to be audited. Okay, so let's begin with the statement of operations on page 21 of the annual report. So on the statement of operations, I'm pleased to report that our 2022 revenues went up by 18% to $214,109, despite the pandemic. Thank you to all our alumni who participate in our affinity programs. Our BCIT BMO MasterCard, our insurance products with TD Insurance and Manulife, our apprentice students program with Prospera, and of course, to all of you who downloaded the BCIT Alumni Perks app. These programs offer great benefits to you, our alumni, and generate revenue for your alumni association. enabling us to offer programs and services and to donate back to BCIT and BCIT students. Thank you so much for your support. Speaking of donations, in the expense section, you will see $150,000. This represents our annual pledge payment towards the $1 million gift to BCIT's Inspire campaign. And as well, we sponsored alumni and student events totaling $18,558. This is a significant variance from last year due to the increased in-person gatherings and other initiatives after things picked up at the tail end of the pandemic. Another significant variance over the previous year was a decrease in marketing expenses. The resulting year-end deficit is $8,702, which was planned for and expected and is covered by our savings. You may also notice we have very low administrative overhead as an organization. This is because BCIT generously donates in-kind services of our executive director and support from the BCIT alumni relations teams, as well as communications, database, and financial services from the BCIT advancement area. We greatly appreciate this very significant in-kind contribution to our operations and your ongoing commitment and partnership. Okay, so now let's take a quick look at the statement of financial position on page 20. I'm pleased to report that a continued strong financial position for the Alumni Association. The total assets decreased by $9,715, giving us a balance of $303,865. This balance is sitting in our general bank account at year end. And this is because our savings account interest rate is higher than current GIC rates. That concludes the very exciting numbers portion of this evening. And I want to take a moment, though, to acknowledge my fellow Finance Committee members, past Treasurer Melissa Billisberger and Kevin Liu. Thank you. Without you, none of this oversight would be possible. So with that, I would like to put forward the motion to approve the 2021-2022 financial statements as presented. Please use the raise hand button to move this motion. Thank you, Frank Kurst, for putting that forward. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Jennifer Roy. And with that, thank you for those who raised your hands for the record. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any last questions about what you have heard here so far tonight? Please use the Q&A or raise hand to speak.
No questions, Rashmina.
Perfect. Thank you, Lisa. And please launch the poll for the alumni to vote on this motion. Let me know once you have results on that. Okay, I think we've had a little bit of a technical difficulty here. We were looking for the poll for the financial statements and not to end the AGM. I was wondering if you could run that again. Lisa, I'm not sure if it's just me, but do you see the correct poll on your end?
No, I don't, Rashmina, but perhaps we can just ask our audience just to raise their hands and then we can just go by majority.
Perfect. So if you guys can just raise your hand if you're in favor. Okay, so we've got 95% hands raised. Thank you very much. And I think with that, the motion carries. I will now turn things back to Emil. Thank you, Emil.
Oh, thanks, Rashmina. They were trying to end this meeting early. That's a tough crowd, huh? Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Rashmina, for your leadership with the Finance Committee. We truly appreciate each of the members serving on the committee. Okay, next on the agenda, we are going to talk about the fantastic incoming and outgoing volunteers on our board. Okay. So now I refer to you to your nomination report on pages 7 through 9 of the agenda PDF package where you can follow along. Okay, we have 5 retiring members. We have Abby Bakshi, Melissa Bilsberger, Avinash Kapil, Matthew Noletti, and Arash Salamati. Abby Bakshi was elected as Vice President External of the BCIT Student Association a year ago and was therefore appointed to our board as the BCIT Student Association President's designate. Our bylaws reserve a seat on our board for the representative from the Student Association to ensure our two organizations have a strong connection. Abby, thank you for joining us this past year. It's been fantastic to have a student voice on the board. Melissa Bilsberger. Melissa, as a longstanding member of our board since 2013, you have been a passionate contributor, giving of your time and expertise to help the association grow and evolve. Your unfailing attention to detail helped ensure that the association continues to thrive now and well into the future. Thank you, Melissa. We are so appreciative. Avinash Kapil. Thank you, Abby, who served 2 terms with the board of directors. Over the years, you have shared your enthusiasm and valuable insight on the Alumni Engagement Committee, sharing your ideas for our many initiatives. For that, we are so grateful. Thank you very much, Abby. Matthew Noletti. Thank you, Matthew, who served 3 full terms with the board of directors as the chair of the governance and engagement committees, and most recently as a vice president. You shared with us your incredible knowledge that you earned from your BCIT business credentials, as well as your experience in the industry to the benefit of our alumni programs. Thank you, Matthew, for being a champion for BCIT alumni. And Arash Salamati. Thank you, Arash, who served on the board since 2016. Arash, you've served 3 full terms with the association, and we can't thank you enough for your contributions. Through the years, you were a great sounding board for our alumni programs and initiatives in helping us to provide great value for our graduates. Thank you, Arash. So Abby, Melissa, Abby, Matthew, and Arash, we are mailing each of you a gift as our way of saying thank you. And I know if you were meeting us in person right now, you would all be hearing a big round of applause. And thank you so much for everything that you do. Appreciate it. Okay, next, I'm pleased to present the slate of 2 candidates for election. And as per our bylaws, this will be done by acclamation. As detailed in the meeting package, the 2 nominees recommended for election are Herb Gill, NIDA Management, and Michelle Ward, Senior Director of Communications and Government Relations for CanFor. As detailed in the meeting package, we have 1 nominee recommended for re-election, and that is myself, Emil Bosnjak, President of B Wireless and Simplify Wireless. And last but not least, the director appointed to us by the Student Association this year is Nolan Nordwall, recently elected as VP of External of Student Association. So congratulations, Nolan. And with that, I have presented the slate of nominees for the elected positions on the BCIT Alumni Association Board of Directors. These directors, including myself, will be joining our continuing directors, Alexandra Gunn, Amanda Gomez, Rashmina Lalani, Jennifer Pattison, and Sean Poole to form the 2022-2023 board. And as per our bylaws, I hereby declare the members recommended by the Governance Committee elected by acclamation to the BCIT Alumni Association Board of Directors. Congratulations to our returning and new directors. And that concludes the nominations report and the business part of the AGM. So now we're going to do the real poll, the one that we sort of did before. May I ask for an alumnus to move that we conclude the 2022 alumni annual general meeting of the BCIT Alumni Association? Please use the raise hand button to move this motion. We have Christian. Thank you, Christian. Nice to see that you're on the call. And do we have a seconder? J. David Milstein. Hi, Jay. Thank you very much. And is there any discussion on the motion? Any last questions about anything you've heard so far tonight? Please use the Q&A or raise your hand to speak. And if you do have a question that we don't get to, we will follow up with you afterwards and get back to you as well. Anything at all, Lisa?
No questions at this time. Thanks, Emil.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so please launch the poll for the alumni to vote on this motion. Fantastic. And if everybody can answer. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. The motion has carried. Okay, the AGM portion of the meeting is adjourned at 6:50 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay, fantastic. Now, okay, we have a very exciting fireside chat. So our fireside chat tonight will be with Manpreet Dhillon. Manpreet is a proud BCIT alumna who graduated with a diploma in management systems. As well, she was a past vice president for our BCIT Alumni Association. Manpreet is the founder of Veza Global, and for the past 15 years, her company has built and supported the implementation of equity, diversity, and inclusion, or EDI, by applying research-based organizational maturity models and utilizing proprietary assessment technology developed from international experience. Manpreet focuses on creating systemic change to address institutionalized inequalities through representation from the communities being served. She's also a contributing author to Chicken Soup for the Soul and a contributing author to Forbes, Thrive Global, and CHRP People Talk. Manpreet is also ranked number 15 globally on the 2020 Empower Ethnic Minority Future Leaders list and an RBC Canadian Women of Influence nominee. Thank you for joining us today, Manpreet. We are excited to learn from you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Manpreet, can you share with us what led you to this field of work and why you do it? And how did your education at BCIT prepare you for what you do now?
For sure. I actually decided at the age 13 that I was going to do this work. I wanted to end, I saw my yearbook and I was from grade 7, and I wanted to end sexism, racism, and war. And I have a pet peeve of eggs. I'm still not sure where the eggs comes from. But I decided quite young that I wanted to change the world in whatever way I could. What led me to that path, though, it was an interesting path. I ended up at electronic engineering first at BCIT, but then decided that wasn't for me. Moved into management systems, graduated from management systems. And the beautiful thing about management systems program, which doesn't exist, it's called something else now, was that it really gave me the foundation to be consulting, looking at strategy, looking at organizations as a system, and how do we actually help people be happy and motivated within the organizations. And from there, that kind of just started streamlining, and I volunteered within the in the local community in arts and culture. We're looking at how we bring using different dance forms together. We one of the organizations I worked with, we did an Israeli Bhangra dance, looking at the similarities and the differences. But I started thinking about, well, if we can do that in the community, what if we did that in the workplace? What if we actually looked at bringing people's whole selves into the workplace? What would that look like? And that's actually how my journey started. Then I went into gender equity, and now we do equity, diversity, inclusion consulting. So BCIT actually gave me the foundation on how to do the work. A lot of the case studies that we did at BCIT, I still utilize the same formats and how I approach the work that we do when we're doing consulting as well. So it's really quite useful.
So explain to me, what is EDI and belonging? And maybe you have some examples.
Yes. So equity, so E stands for equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. So equity is about making sure that we have systems and processes in place where people have a fair chance, and they have and that we have the supports in place that everyone starts at the same line. So for instance, if you're at the train station, everyone comes with a ticket, everyone comes with different opportunities, but sometimes you'll see that different individuals have a special lineup when they're coming to the ticket line because they need additional supports. So that's where equity comes in. When you think about diversity, it's really thinking about the intersectionality, the different parts of who we are, from social economic status, from your race, if you're able-bodied or not, the way that you think, everything from where you grew up, that's all diversity. Inclusion is a diversity, you know, we hear this quote all the time, diversity is being asked to the dance. So you're inviting people in. Inclusion is actually getting people to participate and feel that they're a part of the process. And I'm going to give an example about inclusion right afterwards. And belonging is where you feel like you belong. So a great example, and I wish that this example didn't happen, but this is, and we're talking about transformational leadership and how important leadership is at any stage that you're in. So today I'm currently based in, I'm currently in London, but I live in the Netherlands right now. And I was taking the train over from the Netherlands today. And while I was at the airport, we went through the lineup, we're standing in line for security, and someone cut in front of me. And I was, I'm like, excuse me, you cut in front of me. I was standing here. And he went on to say, no, I didn't. And then the staff member spoke up. He's like, oh no, you actually cut off this woman. She was ahead of you. So that was one case. We went to the passport lineup, and he, this individual, the passenger, decided to tell me that, well, you were standing too close to me. You're dark skinned. I don't trust you. And it was a very hurtful remark, obviously very racist. Where at passport control, both of them looked at me, looked down, and shook their head in disagreement. And that was another case of like, so there's two distinct cases on what you can do and what inclusion looks like. One case, they stood for, the individual took a stand for me, and supporting me as a bystander and what they could do. And that's where really inclusion is, where you're speaking up for others when they don't have the voice themselves. In the other case, they didn't take they have a position of power, they have a position of privilege. They were standing behind a screen, and they didn't actually use that privilege. So this is where inclusion really is about, how do you use your space and how do you use your privilege to speak up for others, give up a space for voices, and to create change as well. And belonging would be, how did I feel in the situation, and feeling a part of the safety in the situation as well.
Oh, brutal to have to go through. I'm sorry to hear that happened, by the way. What does diversity look like in the Lower Mainland?
This is a diversity in the Lower Mainland. Well, when we're thinking about it, I really like to focus on, we think about representation a lot. We think about the way people look and the labels and the identities that people carry. But really diversity, we really want to look at the diversity of thought. What are the perspectives, the behaviors, and the belief systems that make up an individual and how they perceive the world? When you think about what makes you all who you are, think about where you grew up, who you grew up around, what kind of languages did you grow up with, what countries did you grow up with, what was economic status, what access to education did you have? Vancouver is actually really beautiful in a lot of ways. We do have a lot of race representation. We also do have a strong LGBTQ2S community as well. And we also are kind of leaders actually in supporting people with disabilities as well. And so, but there's so much we're missing a lot of diversity in some sense. We're missing a diversity of, you have the diversity of small towns and large towns, and you have the diversity of different economic backgrounds that might come in and different immigrant experiences. We have this amazing rich culture of immigration in Vancouver as well. So Vancouver itself, like, we have such a rich fabric here. But one of the interesting things is, living in the Netherlands, I've noticed in Vancouver, Netherlands, everyone speaks like 2 to 3 languages, and they actually have this deeper understanding of different cultures and things like that. In Vancouver, most of us don't speak that, and so we have maybe 1 or 2. Some people might, may not even have that. So it's actually really interesting to watch how much we're actually limited in some aspects of actually truly engaging with cultures, because we actually miss the language component and the culture aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
You're smiling, Emil. It's
I got a second language, but okay, we won't go there. Okay, so today's topic is transformational leaders driving excellence. Can you explain how the greater the diversity of perspectives and experiences leads to better productivity, collaboration, innovation, safety, and financial returns? And do you have some examples of that?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest things of why, like, diversity inclusion, this conversation, and why it's important, and I think, like, a lot of the reason we know that we keep hearing we need to do this, but we actually have numbers that support this. We know innovation goes up because when you have different people with different perspectives and actually have people a part of the ideation and the creation of products and services from the communities you're serving, you're actually centering what they truly need. And you're actually getting different perspectives on how to approach the product, approach the what you're creating. And one of our examples with some of our clients, they create games. They actually include their accounting team actually in ideation of games, because they found the accounting team thinks differently than all of the marketing and all the creatives on the team. Accounting would be think about the details. They were really particular with how analyzing things, and the way that they approached the work, and this is generalizing accountants, but the way that they would approach the work was very different than people working in marketing or people working in gaming or design. And so this is a great example of we all think different. So what perspectives are you missing? Especially when you're thinking about the end user. Who might your end user be? And how are you actually getting their perspective as a part of the process along the way? We know that, for people who like stats, innovative teams, 87% higher revenues. If you have one more female team member on your board, your revenues go up like 3 times. There's a lot of stats that support all this, but it's not because you're putting representation. You're actually just putting a different way of thinking and a different approach and different skill set and a different strength. And that's what we're actually looking for when we're approaching this as well.
And you're getting more voices to the table. So
Yeah.
You're getting more experiences, more people talking and thoughts out there, right?
Oh, completely. And you're actually discussing things rather than saying, well, we've always done it this way, so why are we doing and just continue to do it that way.
Right.
You're actually thinking about why you're doing it and who you're serving and how can you better serve them as well.
So I have a couple of questions from the audience.
Please.
And my first question to you is, what advice would you give to a new leader trying to influence change in an organization with the traditional or old-fashioned mindset?
That's always a fun one because it still happens quite often. One of the biggest things is don't lose hope. I mean, I know that sounds simple. We know that bureaucracy, politics, especially when you're running up against people who think a certain way and they don't change, it's tiresome, it's exhausting, and also it makes you sometimes walk away. But my biggest thing is, and maybe I'm gluten for punishment. When these things happen, I'm like, well, I'm going to keep going and I keep getting change. But one of the biggest things is I look for support networks. I look for data to support what I'm trying to change. I look for other champions who can support my work within the organization when I'm presenting ideas, and people who will actually speak up for as needed as well. Seek different levels of support along the way. But usually when it's a traditional organization, what really works is data works, research works, and really good case examples from the industry or other similar industries where it's actually worked as well. And that's usually a great way to start as well.
Yeah, particularly with your own competitors, right?
Yeah.
You see them doing it.
And everyone wants to make sure, you want to be ahead of your competitors. So it's a great way to always kind of research what the competitors are doing first.
Did you say you were a glutton for punishment, or that being gluten-free is
glutton for punishment, but I messed up my words. It's like 3:30 in the morning. I'm a little bit tired right now.
Okay. Here's the next question. I'm glad EDI has been such a priority recently, but some people who are focused on measurable results are struggling with how to implement EDI into their scope of work. How do you recommend they do this in a way that's deliverable? How can somebody monitor and track EDI effectiveness in a specific role, department, or organization?
There's some great measures that have already been created that I'd love to share. The global diversity benchmarks. They have some great benchmarks that people can utilize, and we actually utilizes those in our assessments as well. The ESGs, environmental social governance benchmarks. There's so many great metrics in there that can be used around for diversity inclusion for organizations who need to meet the mandate around ESGs for public entities usually need to meet it now as well. And so that's a great way. And then the other B Corp organizations, if you actually look up the B Corp assessment, they have some great questions on how to measure diversity as well. And they can actually be applied across the organization. But the biggest thing is, like, when you're thinking about these things, is really thinking about metrics around who's, if you're thinking about from a hiring perspective, because that's where most people start, is from the hiring, who's applying for the jobs, what's the diversity of the pool that's applying, who's staying for promotions, who's in leadership, tracking that, really thinking about when you're doing a training, what's the retention rate afterwards, and how has behavior changed afterwards as well. That's the most important piece. Training is great on its own, but unless you can change behavior, that's it. And actually putting it a part of your performance management systems. When you actually include these metrics and how managers have to be more inclusive as managers, how they have to be looking at inclusion scores across the organization. If you do a survey of the organization, how people feel like they belong, those inclusion scores are really important. And also then you can break it down by teams and seeing which teams are functioning with more inclusion as well. And so those are some of the things that will really help. But when you put it part of performance management, it actually gets embedded into the way the organization works. And all of these examples of global diversity benchmarks or the ESGs or B Corp is all really about embedding it into the way you work, thinking about who needs to be at the table, how do they, whose conversation do you need to have, but then what numbers get tracked. But then also the other thing is you also can start measuring what market shares you have. I'm actually presenting at the Board of Trade conference around inclusive product and market design. And one of the biggest thing is looking at what's your market share, and if you actually created a product and service that actually was centered around other groups as well, could you actually open up your market share to other groups? So, and that's always such an important piece. One of our clients, they kept hearing from the Hispanic communities out in the States that they wanted to be more a part of the organization, but none of their marketing materials represented those individuals. And there was no way they can really engage with the organization. And all of a sudden they started, really focusing on how do we become more inclusive to Hispanics. And the market share rocketed of this organization, but it was a really important one because they were able to grab hold in some key markets because of the fact of just looking at how they actually, what kind of services they provided to those communities.
Mm-hmm. And they used to teach us about target marketing back at BCIT back in the 80s. But yeah, you can actually target even write down, right,
No, completely.
and really get a dollar benefit from that in your sales when you really speak to the people that you're trying to sell your products and services to.
Oh yeah, completely. And it's actually really great because, but the most important thing is who you're trying to target and make sure that they're involved with a part of the design process. So it's not done as a check mark exercise. It's actually done from a place of why are you targeting them and how are we going to benefit them, rather than we're just focusing on profits. It's also benefiting the communities that you're serving as well.
For sure. Next question we have here is, how do you counteract comments from leadership like, we just hire or promote the best person for the job, regardless of race or gender?
So it's always an interesting one. It's a hard one. Having an HR background, you always do want to hire the best person, but the best person might not be who you think it is. If you actually have, when you're designing the job postings, when you're looking at the job, you actually look at what the true business needs are and actually think about who is the best person for the true business needs at that time. You will start to realize you might need a different skill set than what you originally thought. And then when leadership is like, oh, we're hiring the best people, but it's like actually asking the question, well, when's the last time did we look at the job design? Are we hiring the same person that we hired last time? Or are we hiring based on what the job design is? Because sometimes when the job design, you might need someone with neurodivergent skill sets, because they actually might be more attention detailed, or they might be more focused, and they actually might have better quality control than ever before. That's what you need for that position. And so in that sense, and then when leadership is like, well, we don't look at race, we don't look at gender, and hopefully they wouldn't, because you have the right systems and processes in place that you're actually checking your check and balance, constantly looking at bias, saying, why are we moving this person to the next round? Are we moving them because they're the best candidate? Are we moving them because we feel familiar with them because they remind us of some kind of connection we have? And then at the end of it, if people, then we can say, yeah, we're hiring the best candidate regardless of gender, because we've actually reviewed our systems and processes to make sure that they're equitable and they're more inclusive. When people don't look at that and they say we hire the best person, my suggestion always is, hey, did we look at the job design? Because are we really hiring the best person right now? What about the diversity of thought? I think our customers represent this population. How are we getting their opinions based on our products and services if no one from our team has that lived experience? And actually asking that question in a very curious way. And you can actually start a dialogue around who the best hire actually is then.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, I have one more question here, and it is, how would you handle a situation where a colleague was being culturally insensitive, sexist, racist, or homophobic? Now, I know you just went through a bad situation at the airport there, but yeah, in general, when something like this happens.
Well, it's interesting. Someone actually just, they texted me actually, they were having this scenario happen in their workplace. And I hope they're okay with me sharing it. I don't know if but I don't think they're on the call. So they were with a client, and the client actually was being racist and a racist, but we can pretend that they were doing the rest of that stuff as well while they were in a client meeting with one of the staff members. And the senior person didn't say anything. They just ended the call. And the senior person on the call, they felt horrible because they're like, I didn't stand up for the other staff member, but all I could do was end the call because that's all I felt like I had power to do at that time, because we were dealing with a client and it was an uncomfortable situation and I didn't know what else to do. And the individual who was on the receiving end of the call, when they talked, so the next best thing is to talk to them about like, what kind of support can we provide you? What do we need to do? They actually said, they were like, that was the best option. They're like, I don't like confrontation. And that was really helpful for me. But in other cases, sometimes the person would have wanted you to speak up, and they would have wanted you to stop, actually pause at that moment and be like, I'm sorry, client, this isn't acceptable. And we don't actually tolerate this type of behavior within our organization. And this is why it's important to have the policy and a process that everyone's aware of what people can or cannot do. This organization did not have that in place. So that senior person on the call wasn't sure of, could they say that to the client? What would the repercussions be if they didn't say that? and whether they did anything. But this is why supporting our team members with the policy, the guidelines, the training, in order to address these issues is really important. Also making available for all individuals in the space is, counseling services and trauma and people who have lived experience in those situations, and providing them supports, because people need to know that they're not alone. And so in this scenario, they did fire the client, and the senior person actually went and apologized to the individual on the receiving end. And they ended up having they actually ended up creating more of a guideline on how they would deal with this in the future. And the individual, it was getting counseling support. But this was actually a great example of why it is important to think about these things ahead of time. But then also when it is a coworker, you do have to call them out. And this is where giving people the guidelines and support on what that calling out would look like. But also one of the things is sometimes if it's not a safe environment for everyone involved, sometimes you just have to walk away and address it afterwards.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, when it's a client and the client's bringing you money or contracts, and something like that happens in front of others, it's a delicate situation, right? If you don't have a policy in place, you almost want to take that client off on a call later and basically tell them exactly what they did wrong, and like you said, fire them if that's what you're prepared to do, but address it, like, so that it never happens again, especially for that employee, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's about taking a stand for the employee and taking a stand for your team, knowing they need to know that you have their back.
The employer has to have its employees' backs.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
You have to, otherwise you're really not a leader. Okay, so can you give me an example of how you make your direct reports feel a sense of inclusion, belonging, and equity on a daily basis?
On a daily basis. So, I mean, I hope that I'm doing it right, because we are equity, diversity, inclusion firm. With our team, we know that people come with different lens. People have different challenges and different strengths. One of the biggest things that we do is we do focus on the strengths of our individuals. We also, it's really creating space. So I have a very directive style of communication, which doesn't always work when we have some team members who don't speak a lot or very introverted. So I consciously have to think about when do I need to step back? I need to consciously think about, I have this habit of when I get excited, I interrupt. And it's one of my biggest downfalls.
What?
Yeah. It's the biggest downfall as a leader. But it's also, so one of the things is, like, when I do, I have to, like, I'm sorry. And then I have to, like, pause and, like, give a space again. And I think, but it is about each moment. It is about how do you create inclusion in each moment? How do you listen to the voices of team members, give them opportunities to not just have a part of the conversation, but in written form or whatever form that feels easier for them. One of the things for our company, because we hire everyone from different equity deserving groups or different types of backgrounds and stuff, but people will say, like, but you've had a lot of, like, it doesn't always look representative of Vancouver, or you have a lot of white people, and I'm like, but you don't know what their stories are. You don't know what their backgrounds are. And we're looking at intersectionality. It's not just about color. And really, it's really about, we do different interview processes as well. We do think not the same interview process doesn't work for everyone. One of the things is, like, we try to send interview questions ahead of time so people can prepare, to try to take the stress away. We also have more of a conversation rather than an interview, because some people don't do well in stress. And one of the other things is it's really about keep asking individual, what do they need? One of the things that we always tell a lot of our clients is, pretend that someone's gonna, like, you're always doing their exit interview, always ask them, what keeps you here? Because the more you ask them what keeps you here, you can do more of it and actually keep them then as well.
Wow, okay. Well, I never thought about doing exit interview questions in advance to make sure that people stay.
It's a good tactic, though, because when you're asking them on the way out, the problem's already there.
It's already, yeah, they may not even answer on the way out, right?
Yeah, exactly. But if you ask them while they're still there, you can do something about it.
Fantastic. Okay.
But don't call it an exit interview, because then that means they're going to think that they're trying to get them to leave.
No, just call it a fireside chat.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to now reach out to Lisa and ask Lisa, are there any other questions, if you unmute Lisa, that have popped up here that we could ask?
Yes, thanks, Emil. Excuse me, and thanks, Manpreet. The next question, a question that we have is, what is the bottom line when you don't implement EDI? What can it cost an organization?
All of your staff. One of the biggest, challenges that most companies are having right now is staffing. Obviously, we've heard about the Great Resignation and people leaving. Why do people leave? People leave because of culture. They leave because they don't feel like they belong. They leave because they don't feel included. They don't feel like they leave because their voices don't matter. They also leave when there's not equitable practices going on. And so if we want to address staffing, make sure that your organization is doing really well on the equity, diversity, inclusion, maturity model. It will cost you your reputation. We see constantly crisis communication to EDI is one of the most growing fields right now, because a lot of organizations are messing things up, quote unquote, and they need to do crisis communication in order to be better and do better and listen again. And the other thing it does cost you is sales. Customers want to engage with companies that, some customers, not everyone, because we do have spectrum of where people are at and who, as today's example, we know everyone sits on different spaces and on these topics, but customers will leave companies because they don't agree with the values of the organization and or how they're operating as well.
Yeah, and to find, like I said, in today's market, to find good people and to keep them long term is so hard that the last thing you want to do is give any reason that potential long-term employee might have for leaving you, right?
Completely, yeah. Well, people decide within the first couple of months if they're going to stay or not. And but the thing is, we can actually, like, most people decide within the 4 days of how long they're going to stay. But if you engage individuals right away, and you actually have an organization that has like an equitable recruitment onboarding process, you're going to get people to stay. And while there are people there, they're going to think about their promotions. Who's getting promoted all the time? Is that an equitable process? When performance management is happening, how are we training our managers? I mean, I feel sorry for leaders at this point, because leadership is they're trying to navigate a really unknown space. Yeah. And there's so many different pressures, and you don't even know how to be as a leader at this time because there's no guidelines around it. But that's one of the things is like, what the biggest thing you can do as a leader in these places is listen. And listen to what people need and listen to what they want and act on it. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, you want to lead with like empathy, with love, like with the best intention in your heart, right? Like with every individual you come across in life, and just the same way you'd want to be treated back, right?
Completely, yeah.
And if everybody did that, it'd be a better place.
Well, it goes back. All of this work is really about seeing the human again. We had to for me personally, I do this work because it's actually bringing humanists back into the workplace. It's actually getting people not to be in numbers, but actually seeing what's the human experience of each individual we're moving through our systems and processes that we create. And remembering that there's people going through those systems and processes. And when we're thinking about the person, we can actually look at case examples and do customer journeys and staff journeys from a place of what would their experience be in interacting with the organization. And actually, because we have a human that's going through this process, not just a robot. That makes a big difference.
So Manpreet, what time is it right now in London, where you are?
London is 3:22, but I'm on Netherlands time, so it's 4:22.
Okay, fantastic. Well, it's it's the middle of you look fantastic here this time, 4 o'clock in the morning.
It's the makeup.
Yeah. So that's all the time we have, Manpreet, for this fireside chat. Thank you very much for spending the time and talking to us all about this. We have a really good participant turnout and quite a few people on right now. So it's really fantastic that you're able to join us. Do you want a quick plug of a website? We'll put it up in the chat, I'm sure, but where people can find out more?
Yeah, you can go to vezaglobal.com, and we have tons of free resources on there. And also Veza was proud to work with the BC government and the TAP network on creating a hub diversity inclusion hub with checklists, templates, and over 400 something resources that people can go and access. You can just go on the VESA Global website and go and access the hub as well. It will give you everything you need on there. So just VESA Global /resources.
Awesome. Okay, Manpreet, thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise with us this evening and this morning. I know that I've learned a lot in terms of broadening my understanding and have acquired some great tips on how to be a better leader and example. So thank you as well to our audience who have asked some great questions for tonight's chat. Okay, thank you. And now on to the announcing of our draw prize winners. Only those that are present will win. And we ask that when we announce your name that you either put in the chat that you are here or raise your hand. Okay, so Emma is about to open the chat and Lisa's going to post the winners and your names. Winners' names have been posted in our chat. Our alumni relations staff will follow up with you using your contact information that you provided upon registration to deliver your prize. And congratulations to all of our winners. Our sincere thanks to those who have generously donated prizes. Alumni, please make sure you download the BCIT Perks app found in the App Store for Apple and Android. If you haven't already, our sponsors and affinity partners can be found there, offering fantastic benefits and discounts exclusive to all of you. Perk partners are added all the time, so keep checking back to see who's new as a Perks partner. And on behalf of the board, thank you so much to all of our alumni, including all of you here tonight who are involved and passionate about BCIT. You attended our events, you volunteer on our advisory committees and boards. Many of you mentor our students or volunteer as guest speakers. You donate or you take part in our affinity programs. You make a huge difference, and for that, we're extremely grateful. We also sincerely thank the BCIT Board of Governors, the Institute, the Foundation, the School of Business and Media, and our affinity partners, BMO, TD Insurance, and Manulife Financial, and the draw prize sponsors. It's been a pleasure working with you this year, and hopefully next year we will be together in person, hopefully, and we can give you a big round of applause. Thank you. So following this event, all the attendees will receive an email with a link to our event survey. We invite you to share your feedback and let us know what future programming you'd like to see in our AGMs. So my sincere thanks to the BCIT Alumni Relations and Advanced Communications team for so expertly managing tonight's event. So thank you again for joining us this evening. Please keep in touch, and we hope to see you at our upcoming events. Bye.